And in today's video, what we're going to do is record another video talking about the contract to purchase real estate. Again, I am not an attorney, so I'm not here to give you legal advice. Consult with an attorney, a local attorney in your area, and talk to them about which contract you can use to do your investing, right? So I just want to start off with that. This is the contract I use. Again, I am not an attorney, so I don't want to provide legal advice. It's just what I use, and you can modify this and edit this. This is a one-page contract, right? Some people use 2 pages, some people use 5, 10. Whatever works for you, whatever you feel comfortable using. This is what I've been using. This is what works for me. And you can modify and edit your contract to make it to kind of suit you and what you're comfortable. You can change the conditions. You can change what you want it to say, the verbiage, all that stuff. So let's just go line by line, okay? So obviously the buyer is going to be you or your company name. Let me see if I can. Yeah, it doesn't let me put the name, but you would put your name here, your company name or your personal name. Offers to purchase seller, Mr. Jones. Following described real estate together with all improvements thereon and all pertinent rights located at 123 Main Street, City, County. Okay? In consideration of the sum of $10, earnest money deposit due upon completion of inspection period, the seller agrees. Okay, so now the earnest money, the EMD, earnest money deposit for the seller, when you're dealing directly with the seller, that can literally, I've done deals of $1, $10, $100. It's really up to you and what the seller is comfortable with. I've never done more than $100. I've never done more than $10, to be honest with you. So, you know, that's going to be up to you what they, and you never give the earnest money deposit to the seller. It would be to the title company. Okay. All right. So the purchase price, let's just say $100,000, payable in cash at closing. Well, you don't pay them in cash; they get a check. So just so we're clear on that. The conditions of this purchase are as follows. So this is very important. Property is sold as in condition with no warranties made by the seller. Seller will make buyer aware of any known facts that will affect the value of the property, such as like if there's foundation issues, things like that. Now, seller and tenant, if any, will make any property accessible to show partners, lenders, inspectors, appraisers, and contractors prior to closing. Now, that's important because you want access to the property so you can show your buyers, essentially, so you can show your buyers. So that's what I tell my sellers is I need access to the property so I can show my funding partners or my partners so they can take a look at it and make sure everything's good. Okay? If buyer is unable to complete the purchase for any reason, the earnest money deposit shall be forfeited to the seller as total liquidity damages, and buyer is relieved from any further obligation under this contract. So here's why that's good, because earnest money deposit, it's usually going to be going to $10. Okay, so if worst case scenario, and they're not gonna go after you for $10, you know, you essentially, if you just cancel the contract is null and void, and you're not obligated to any, you're released from any further obligation under the contract. Okay, the seller cannot provide clear title. Buyer will be released from any further obligation under this contract. Otherwise, seller promises to sell under this contract. So if the title's not clear, you can back out of the deal. Buyer shall select closing agent. You always want to select the title company, the one you've been working with, the one you're comfortable with, and the one that's investor friendly. Okay. Purchase contract is assignable. So that's what's very important right there. Purchase contract is assignable. So that gives you the right to assign that contract to an end buyer. Okay, you always want to have that in your contract. You always want to have that clause. Okay. This agreement is subject to the final inspection of approval of the property by the buyer 10 days after the date this contract is received by the buyer. So the buyer, once the buyer assigns, so essentially you can kind of prolong this as long as you want, because final inspection and approval of the property by the buyer 10 business days after this date this contract is received by the buyer. So you have that window where you can do the inspection and find your buyer, and you can always, here's a good clause that I like. Um, but let's go down to this. Taxes to be prorated and any previous year's taxes to be paid by seller. So obviously the seller is responsible for any liens, judgments, taxes. They're responsible for that. All attorney fees and customer closing costs should be paid by the buyer. So all the closing costs are going to be paid by your buyer. So this is what I like. Closing date shall be on or before 45 days from the date signed below by the seller. Seller grants any extension needed to clear title to complete closing documentation. Title to the above described real estate to be conveyed by warranty deed. Okay, that's fine. Title to be free and clear and encumbered, free of any county, city, and federal liens. All liens against the property shall be paid at closing by the seller. So any liens, judgment, taxes paid by the seller. So you can change this I've seen contracts from other wholesalers say 90 days. Okay, you can change it whatever the seller is comfortable with. I usually leave it at 45 days. That gives me enough time to find a buyer. If I can't find a buyer in 45 days, it's probably not a deal. So, and I always tell the seller, it can be done as little as 7 days or as long as 45 days. Really depends on what's on title, and that can be true in most cases. Sometimes title can hold up the closing. So. This offer, when accepted, compromises the time between a purchase and seller, and it is agreed that no other representations have been made. So that's pretty. You sign and date it. So these are the clauses that I have on the contract. So again, you can do whatever you want. You can find your contract. Talk to a lawyer, and they can work up a contract you're comfortable with. This is what I've been using, kind of what I'm comfortable with. So you go ahead and find one that you're comfortable with and that you've consulted with an attorney with. Because I don't like to provide any legal advice or anything like that. But this is basically what I have in my in my contract. I have these clauses. Make sure that the contract is assignable. Make sure I have enough time. 45 days. 45 days to find a buyer. Let them know that I need access to the property so I can sell it, so I can show my buyers. And that's pretty much it. That's kind of what I have, and that's pretty much it, guys. So click on the link below. I do have a Facebook group that I'm gonna make public. So click on the link below and go ahead and join. It's free to join. Just go ahead and click on the link. I'll have the link in the description. And that's it. See you on the next video.